What would make a 5-time Champions League winner walk away from football's biggest stage just to spend his days on the golf course? Gareth Bale had everything: titles, money, glory, yet he chose a path no one saw coming. Some say it was passion, others call it betrayal, but the real story is far more complicated. Gareth Bale's journey to the top of football felt like destiny. Born in Cardiff, his raw speed and power made him stand out even as a schoolboy. Southampton gave him his professional debut, but it was at Tottenham where he transformed from a promising left-back into a world-class attacking force. Week after week, he left Premier League defenders gasping for air, thundering runs down the wing, long-range screamers, and goals that looked almost unfair. By 2013, the world was watching. Real Madrid broke the transfer record to bring him to Spain, a deal worth over $100 million. Many doubted whether he could handle the pressure of the Bernabeu, but Bale's response was unforgettable. In the 2014 Copa del Rey final, he sprinted from his own half, ran off the pitch, and still outpaced Barcelona's Marc Bartra to score a goal that felt more like a sprinting event than football. And then came the Champions League final in Lisbon, an extra-time header that sealed La Decima for Madrid, ending a decade-long obsession. Over the years, Bale collected 5 Champions League medals, 3 La Liga titles, and a highlight reel that few players in history could match. His overhead kick against Liverpool in the 2018 final is still replayed as one of the greatest goals ever scored in the competition. For most players, this would be the ultimate football dream: money, fame, and immortality in the sports history books. But even during these peak years, something felt different about Bale. He wasn't always comfortable in the spotlight. He rarely gave interviews, avoided the Madrid social scene, and often kept to himself. To the outside world, he seemed like a superstar who didn't fully embrace the role of a global icon. And while the world assumed his silence was distance or arrogance, the truth was that his passion was quietly pulling him away from the game. Because while Bale was conquering football at the highest level, another obsession was quietly growing, one that had nothing to do with roaring crowds, but everything to do with silence, focus, and the green stretches of a golf course. Even as Bale's football career soared, golf was steadily becoming his true escape. Long before he lifted Champions League trophies, he was already sneaking time to play rounds with friends back in Wales. For him, golf wasn't just a casual pastime, it was a space where he could breathe.
I love golf. I think, for one, it's a sport that you can play against anybody off any handicap, however different the levels are. You can always make it a good game. Being able to get away from the limelight, from football, it's kind of, you go on the course, you just your own time with your friends or on your own, or just getting away from everything. And yeah, just also the fact that you can always keep improving. Obviously I have the bug, and yeah, every time you go out you want to play more, you want to improve, and yeah, it seems like it's never ended.
On the course, there were no endless press conferences, no questions about injuries, no fans screaming for more. Just the rhythm of the swing, the calm of the grass, and a kind of focus that football never gave him. But Bale didn't stop at playing. He took his passion to another level by transforming his own home into a golfer's dream. In his backyard, he built replicas of some of the most famous holes in the world, including the 17th at TPC Sawgrass, with the same island green and water hazard that strikes fear into professionals. Few footballers in history have shown that level of dedication to anything outside the sport. Inside the Madrid dressing room, his obsession became a running joke. Teammates began calling him the golfer, and Bale embraced it with a smile. To him, it was harmless fun, a reminder that he had another passion outside the exhausting pressure of the Bernabeu. But to the Spanish media, it was proof of a growing problem. They began to twist every round of golf into a headline. If Bale was injured, they asked if golf was to blame. If he missed training, rumors swirled that he had chosen the fairway over the pitch. And then came the moment that lit the fire. After leading Wales to Euro qualification, Bale posed behind a flag that read, "Wales, Golf, Madrid," in that order. It was meant as a joke between teammates, but to the world, especially in Spain, it was a declaration of war.
Ali, is this a big deal?
I think it is. And we know that this marriage has gone sideways. Gareth Bale and Real Madrid, clearly.
The storm that followed the Wales, Golf, Madrid. In that order, flag was unlike anything Bale had ever experienced. In Spain, it wasn't treated as a lighthearted joke, it was a declaration of disrespect. Newspapers like Marca and AS plastered the image across their covers, calling it a humiliation for Real Madrid. On radio shows, pundits labeled him selfish, ungrateful, even a traitor to the badge.
Gareth Bale, muy mala.
I think he's one of the Real Madrid's legends.
Cara dura y un sinvergüenza.
¿Ha sido un jugador importante para el Madrid?
He's supposed to be good, but he doesn't play too much in the last 2 years. He's weird because even though he's a good player and he scored very nice goals with Real Madrid, he didn't commit too much with the club in the sense that this curious. For 5 years he has been playing in Real Madrid and he doesn't speak Spanish at all in the interviews.
Every frustration Madrid fans had bottled up spilled out at once. They pointed to his frequent injury absences, his limited Spanish, his quiet personality, and now his love of golf as evidence that Bale had never truly cared for the club. At the Santiago Bernabeu, the boos were deafening. Every misplaced pass, every substitution, every stretch on the bench drew whistles that cut deeper than any defender could. Rumors only made things worse. Spanish tabloids claimed that his recurring back problems came from too many hours practicing his swing. They accused him of missing training sessions to sneak onto the course. Even when Bale did return from injury, critics suggested he was more fit for 18 holes than for 90 minutes. Suddenly, golf wasn't just a hobby, it was being painted as the root of everything wrong with his Real Madrid career. Inside the locker room, the dynamic also shifted. Some teammates joked by calling him the golfer, but outside those walls, the nickname was turned into a weapon. To fans and journalists, it was proof that Bale's priorities were clear. Wales first, golf second, Real Madrid last. For a player who had scored in Champions League finals and delivered historic goals, the irony was cruel. His legacy was being reduced to memes and headlines. And yet behind all the noise, Bale remained silent. He didn't lash out in interviews, didn't trade insults with the press. He stayed calm, insisting to those close to him that golf wasn't a distraction, but something far more important. Because while Spain saw a player slipping away, Bale saw golf as his way of holding it all together. To the Spanish press, golf was proof that Gareth Bale didn't care. But for Bale himself, it was the opposite. In rare interviews, he finally explained what the game meant to him.
It was that kind of freedom that really kept me, I guess, mentally sane during my career, and it helped me a lot to overcome those pressures. And yeah, I used it as a tool to help my career, to be honest. And it definitely gave me that calmness and that time that I needed on my own to just reset every time after big games or training or a lot of stuff all at once.
On the Sky Sports Golf podcast, he revealed that golf was his therapy, his way of staying sane under the crushing weight of being a Galactico. 4 or 5 hours out on the course, he said. No cameras, no pressure, no stress, just me and the ball. For years, Bale had been painted as distant, even cold. But in truth, the solitude of golf gave him what football couldn't: peace. Every round was a reset button, a chance to breathe after weeks of scrutiny. Where others saw obsession, Bale saw balance. He wasn't trading training for tee times, he was surviving the intensity of elite football by finding a mental escape. And in hindsight, it made sense. Few players in modern football endured as much pressure from both fans and media. Every missed chance, every injury, every quiet celebration was magnified into scandal. For Bale, golf was never about abandoning Madrid. It was about protecting himself from the noise that never seemed to stop. Still, perception is powerful, and by the time he admitted that golf kept him grounded, the damage to his reputation in Spain had already been done. Which is why, when the moment came to finally walk away from football, Bale didn't hesitate. By early 2023, the decision that many had predicted finally arrived. At just 33 years old, Gareth Bale announced his retirement from professional football. For most players, that age still leaves a few years at the top, especially for someone with his experience and winning mentality. But Bale wasn't like most players. After 5 Champions League trophies, countless iconic goals, and a career that had already secured his place in history, he chose to step away on his own terms. The announcement shocked fans around the world. Some mourned the loss of a generational talent. Others shrugged, convinced that he had already mentally checked out years before. But what nobody could deny was that Bale wasn't retreating into obscurity. Just was talking about Gareth Bale the golfer. And he looked comfortable, too comfortable. His swing was polished, his focus intense, and his passion undeniable. To many watching, it felt less like a retired footballer enjoying a hobby, and more like a man stepping into his second career, which led to the obvious question: was Gareth Bale actually preparing to turn professional in golf? The sight of Bale holding his own at Pebble Beach sparked a frenzy of speculation. Could the 5-time Champions League winner really become a professional golfer? On paper, he certainly had the skills. Reports suggested his handicap hovered around 3 or 4, an extraordinary level for an amateur, especially one who had spent most of his life focused on another sport. His swing was smooth, his short game disciplined, and he carried himself with the calm of someone who belonged on the course. Fans and pundits began to wonder if Bale was about to rewrite sporting history. After all, crossing over from one elite sport to another is almost unheard of. Social media buzzed with clips of his drives, and golf magazines debated whether his natural athleticism could make up for years of missed competitive experience. But Bale himself quickly cooled the rumors. In interviews, he admitted he loved the game too much to ever ruin it with the pressure of competition. He insisted that while golf gave him balance, he was under no illusions. It wasn't his professional destiny. "I'm 100% sure I'm not good enough to compete with the pros," he said, laughing off the speculation. Still, that didn't stop the comparisons or the headlines. Because whether or not he ever turned pro, the fact that so many people believed it was possible said everything about just how seriously Bale had embraced his second love. And yet, golf wasn't the only world Bale was stepping into after football. Golf might have been Bale's escape, but it wasn't the only chapter he was writing after retirement. Away from the cameras, he began exploring an entirely new role in the sport he once dominated, not as a player, but as an owner. In 2025, Bale made headlines again when he led a consortium that submitted an official bid to buy Cardiff City, his boyhood club. For fans in Wales, the news felt poetic. Their greatest ever player now trying to take control of the team that had inspired him as a child.
Gareth, you've scored hundreds of goals on the pitch, but one goal off the field that you're looking to be able to get done is getting involved in investment and ownership. Now, born and raised in Cardiff, you had an uncle that played soccer there as well. You have a lot of ties. What is the latest on where things stand now? Any news to break?
Yeah, no, so yeah, some kind of, I guess, exciting news. We have a brand new offer on the table. Was recently just gone in, so yeah, we think it's a great offer, one that we think, and we're very happy. We think it's very fair, very, if not more than fair, and yeah, something that we hope the owners, current owners, will take serious, and yeah, we'd love them to accept, so we can take, I guess, full control and yeah, get on with what we want to do and create Cardiff into a club that we know it can be.
This wasn't a publicity stunt. Bale and his partners put forward a serious offer to wrestle ownership away from Malaysian billionaire Vincent Tan, a move that symbolized more than just a business deal. It showed that Bale wasn't walking away from football entirely. Instead, he was reshaping his connection to the game, from the man who scored the goals to the man shaping the future of a club and community. At the same time, his presence in golf only grew stronger. Invitations to Pro-Am events became regular. His appearances drew media attention, and his polished swing made him one of the most talked about amateurs in celebrity tournaments. Suddenly, Bale wasn't defined by one career. He was navigating two worlds at once, splitting his energy between building a legacy in Welsh football and nurturing his love for golf. And that raises the real question. When a legend like Gareth Bale chooses to reinvent himself, how do you define his legacy? By the trophies he won, or by the passions he chose to follow once the cheers faded? Gareth Bale's story isn't just about a footballer who traded one sport for another. It's about a man who refused to let the weight of expectation dictate his life. He had the medals, the money, and the legacy that most players can only dream of, yet he chose peace over pressure, passion over perception. For some, that will always look like betrayal. For others, it's the mark of someone brave enough to live life on his own terms. Now, Bale stands at a crossroads few athletes ever reach. Celebrated as a 5-time Champions League winner, admired as a golfer with elite skill, and poised to shape the future of football in Wales as an owner. But what defines him more? The nights under the Bernabeu lights, or the quiet mornings on a golf course? Because in the end, Gareth Bale didn't just walk away from football. He reminded the world that sometimes true greatness is measured not by what you achieve, but by what you choose to walk toward.